What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome to the Pacer Pulse podcast, the heartbeat of Indiana basketball. And today, guys, I wanted to cover another article that I saw today. And yes, it includes another name for a center that I'm sure we've all seen or heard at this point, but his name is Nic Claxton. And it was reported by Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype that the Pacers and Warriors have inquired about Nic Claxton. So before, I've done like trade podcasts before where I went over like trade scenarios and what it would take to possibly get Nic Claxton. I'll do that a little bit today just to kind of refresh y'all. But if you want, go back and check out some of those past podcasts on trade episodes I've done. I've covered a lot of centers, and he was definitely one of them I've talked about, and one that I believe could possibly be available because the Nets, I mean, I'm sure this year they're really wanting to tank out and lose. And they do have Day'Ron Sharpe as a backup who I think could be a starting center in this NBA. So I wonder if like they're willing to kind of part with the Claxton, who's making a lot more money than Sharpe, and be willing to just kind of start Day'Ron Sharpe for the rest of the year. I don't know what their thought process is fully, but I was very intrigued by it. And at the time, I don't know. At first when I heard the name, I was like, man, I don't know how I really feel about Claxton. I don't know if he's really one that I'm going to be like super excited about if we trade for, but the more I thought about it, the more I was starting to kind of like change my mind on it. But it depends too. It depends how much we would give up for Nic Claxton and if it would be worth it or not. But I'll go over like some of these numbers that he's doing this year just to kind of give you guys like an idea of how he's performing this year in the NBA. And he's really added a different element to his game this season that he hasn't really shown prior seasons that I think is what really helped make it more interesting to me as to like what his fit could be with this team moving forward if we did decide to trade for him. So this year he's played in 36 games, probably started at least like 30 of them, I would say, besides when he was hurt. But he's averaging 13 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 58% from the field. I mean, he's not a 3-point shooter, like 17% from 3. And like 65% from the free throw line. So not bad stats. And that's without even like a traditional point guard. So imagine Tyrese Haliburton. And I've made this reference even on like the last pod about Onyeka Okongwu and us having interest in him. If you haven't heard that podcast yet, I would suggest checking that out. I kind of do the same thing I'm doing on this pod. I dive into how he would fit with this team and just what his impact could be if we ended up trading for him. And also, I forgot to mention, Claxton, he's only about like 26 to 27 years old. So he would fit that kind of like young center timeline that could grow with like the rest of our core on this team and really help extend our title chances window, I would say, and really just be a part of this core for a while. But I wanted to say that the one area that he's really improved on this year is his assist. So 4 assists for a starting center is a huge number. So they kind of used him as like an offensive hub a little bit this year at times where they're working him in the high post. He's getting passes to guys as they cut and getting them on the wings for like open threes. And I was watching some highlights of him and I was very intrigued by that. And I'm not saying that would be like his role for the Pacers at all, but I think it adds another dynamic, another wrinkle we could go to, especially if like Tyrese isn't out on the floor. And we already know that Tyrese is going to be able to elevate Nic Claxton's game. We already know that. And like I was about to mention earlier, where we saw like what Tyrese did for Miles Turner's career. I mean, he essentially got Miles paid this past summer because we see what he's doing in Milwaukee right now without Tyrese. He's averaging like 12 points, 5 rebounds a game. Easily his worst stats of his career, I would say, or close to it since his rookie days. So we see like how much Tyrese can elevate a player. And I just think that if Claxton's already averaging like 13 a game without a starting caliber point guard on that team, a traditional playmaker, I can imagine he could get up to like 17 a game with us. Just pretty much what Miles was averaging. And that's without a 3-point shot. But Claxton, he has shown the ability to make passes at the high post and just make smart reads. I mean, he's even shown the ability to like get a rebound, dribble out in transition, which would help our transition game a lot too. Having a center that can do that and have that ability and to be able to pass and make the right passes too. Like, I think he would add a lot to our offense, even though he's not really known to be like a big time offensive player. I think that he would make our offense even better. maybe in our system compared to like what the Nets have right now, I think he would fit our system even more because he can get out and run. He would be a great screen setter, lob threat for Halliburton, and the fact that he's just a great playmaker too, and has really developed that part of his game, and it just adds another wrinkle to our offense that we could go to. So you want as much like diversibility, I would say, within like your team in terms of what you can do out there on the floor. So he would add another added element. Not saying like Sabonis passing wise, but like just some of that where he's able to make really good passes. Like if you watch his highlights, you'd be impressed with like the type of playmaking he's added this year. And he's already had like 2 triple doubles this season, which is the most he's ever had in his NBA career. So if that doesn't like just highlight how much he's improved even on this year alone. And I haven't even gotten to the fact about like his defensive capabilities and the fact that he's able to switch out onto guards, guard in the space, guard on the perimeter, but also protect the paint, which is also like a huge, huge thing. So the fact that we are really bad at protecting the paint right now, guys. We give up so many paint points just about every game. If you watch our game logs and see like our team stats at the end of games, we easily probably get outscored in the paint by like 20 plus per game, and we give up astronomical amounts of points in the paint. I know Jay Huff's a good shot blocker, but like he's limited in his defensive ability. But I would love him as a backup, like behind a Claxton, let's say. And that's what really intrigued me was the added passing, but also like his ability to guard in space, like something we haven't had really. Miles could barely a little bit, but not really much. He's just a drop coverage big for the most part. Claxton, he would eliminate that. He would like be able to play different types of schemes. We would have more versatility on the defensive end on what we could do. And you don't want to be like pigeonholed into like one way of defending, which is like a drop big. That's what Jay Huff pretty much is. And I'm not saying that's bad, but you want as much versatility as you possibly can have. And Claxton would add a lot of that. So I see like the interest. I know we're kind of just going all over the trade market looking for like anybody out there, but I'm very intrigued by his fit because, like I said, I think he could play out in transition. I think, like I said, he could literally grab a board and like start the fast break himself and be able to pass to guys like on the fast break or onto the wing for like a fast break 3 or whatever it is. So I could see the vision as to like how he would fit and just being that lob threat that we never had, a guy that he's going to play above the rim. Like that's something we haven't had too much, obviously, in the past 10 years with Miles, where, yeah, if Miles gets a runway, he was able to throw down some mean dunks. But other than that, like he's not playing above the rim, guys. So I like what he could bring to this team. And I think that when you think about him more, it's like, okay, like he's younger, he's 26, 27, fits the timeline, and he could help us win now. And he would help our defense. And I do think he wouldn't hurt our offense at all. Even though he's not known to be like such a amazing offensive player, it's really the defensive end where he's really shined. But also, I will add too, like, and I'll go over his advanced stats here too, like his advanced on-off numbers. I think those are interesting as well. And like this year, he hasn't been a positive player for the Nets, but they're trying to lose. They're not really like a serious team, even though they've won some games. So he's playing with some weird lineups. So imagine if he's playing with better lineups, but it actually has shown he's been a positive on the offensive end this year. So that's pretty encouraging. That just shows like his like passing ability has really helped make their team like a better offensive team. So obviously the way we like to play, we like to move the ball around. He would just be additive to that, to like extra levels. From like most of the guys we've talked about, he might be one of the better like passing big men. Honestly, like he's developed that much in his game. But defensively, he has been a negative on the defensive end this year for the team, which is kind of shocking to see, but I think these numbers can be a little skewed because I think it's been in like the past month or so. The Nets have had like the best defensive rating in the NBA. So it might have changed now, but I know it was for like a month or so straight where they've had the best defensive rating in the NBA, which is shocking to hear. It's the Brooklyn Nets, we know, so it's kind of surprising to hear that, but I think it's because Claxton's been a huge part of that. And if he could bring that to our team, that versatility, like I said, I think the sky would be the limit. I could see it. He is smaller frame, so he's obviously going to get like bodied against like bigger opponents. So like your Zubac's obviously, or who else am I thinking of? Karl Towns. He could guard out in the perimeter on Towns at least, but if he posts him up inside, like he'll just have harder mismatches. That's for sure in terms of like if guys have a lot more bulk and size. But I don't think he's like just a slouch. I think he would like be okay. But that would be like the area I'd be concerned at the most. But other than that, you're not worried about him defensively. He can get steals, protect the rim, guarded space. He's honestly the most. If he just could like shoot from three, he would probably be the most versatile big in the NBA. Like if he just had that in him. And he's also shown the ability to like make plays off the dribble that I like that I've seen like in the half court where he could take guys like maybe slower big men off the dribble and finish inside. So the more I watched of him and the more I dived into the numbers, I was definitely more interested in Nicholas Claxton. So just imagine like all that I'm saying. Obviously, he's a flawed player too. Like he's not a perfect player. He'll have his issues with our team, just like any player, of course. Like he's not a floor spacer, like I said. And like I said, strength wise, I don't know how he would be against some of the bigger guys in the NBA, but like even just think of the Thunder. Like I know they had Hartenstein, and he's a big proponent to what they do, but he's not like just a massively big guy. Like he's got size, of course, but he can match up with that guy. And obviously, when they play small with Chet, like Chet's a smaller frame guy, so it's not like you can't win with those type of players. And I guess he would worry too about Claxton in the sense that he's never been in a winning environment. So you wonder if he can translate that play into wins. And that's something you do have to consider. So, like I said, I don't want to be all rose covered glasses here. I want to show like the good and bad with Claxton and how like he could add to our team, but also like some of the areas that like, all right, he's going to take away from the team, or he might not be as impactful, of course. Like obviously the number one thing, he's not a floor spacing big. We know that, but from all the names we've heard, like we've heard a few that can space the floor, but we've heard a lot of names that like aren't your typical like floor spacing big men. So I think what the Pacers are doing is they're just trying to find as the best talent available at center because they know it's that dire. And I think Jay Huff allows that to be the case because at least you still have a stretch five option on your team. So I think that's why we can have a little more flexibility on who we actually want to bring into the team. So I did do a trade proposal, so just to kind of show you guys like what it would take. But the first thing I want to start off with is Nicholas Claxton. He makes $25 million a year, so that's I guess most would say is a lot of money. But for like a starting center, and I know people would say, well, why didn't we just pay Miles that? But Miles is a lot older, and he's already shown decline. We saw like what he kind of did in the playoffs. Like he had some big moments, but other than that, he was getting played off the floor, and we had to play Obi Toppin over him in crunch minutes a lot of times. So I think that we kind of saw that too, and obviously we wanted to bring him back, but we got blindsided, I think, by the Bucks. But we're starting to see that was a blessing in disguise, guys, honestly. So yeah, you could say that's a lot of money, but also he's on a descending contract. So this is going to be the most money he's making out of this contract as this year. I don't know what it drops down to. I'm trying to see. It doesn't show me on this website, but it's supposed to be descending. So he's not going to be making $25 million next year whenever we're at full strength. So maybe you're like, all right, whatever. He's making $25 million this year for the rest of the season when we're already trying to get a high lottery pick. So it wouldn't really matter in that regard. We would at least have a little more cap space to work with going into next season because his contract won't be as big. But with all that said, this trade I put together, I mean, not saying I would do this, but this is honestly what it would take, guys, because you obviously need to have the salary to send back to match contracts. That's just kind of how it works. So I had us trading Nic Claxton, obviously, for Obi Toppin, Isaiah Jackson, and Jarris Walker. So honestly, guys, if we're trading for Nicholas Claxton, I don't think there's any way where we cannot have Obi Toppin in the deal. And that's just because he's making $14 million per year. He has one of our bigger tradable contracts. I mean, you're not trading Nesmith. You're not trading Nembhard, probably. You're not trading TJ McConnell, I would say. And, I mean, we could trade Isaiah Jackson, of course, especially now that he is trade eligible. Like I said on the last pod, January 15th, he could officially be moved now after his extension. So I think a trade could happen anytime now. I'm not saying like it's imminent, but there's a chance that it could happen anytime. I think we were waiting on that too. And then Jarris is making like close to $7 million. So that gets you around 28 or so. And you got to give something back to like the Nets. So I don't know if we would have to include a 2027 first round pick. I would think that if the front office says like, hey, we think we can compete and win a title with Claxton, then I think you include that pick and just kind of bite the bullet on it. We're going to get a top pick hopefully this year in this year's draft to like add to this team. So you're not really hurting on that front. You already got Furphy, Cam Jones, Shepard, other guys in the mix. And who knows what we can do with Matherin then if we could re-sign him. and bring him back, or at least have him on as like an asset if we want. But I'm all for like keeping Matherin. But the reason why I didn't include Matherin in this trade too is I don't know if the Nets would want him, and if they would, I don't know. I just don't think you trade him for like a Claxton. I really don't. I think he's got better value than that. So, like, if we were to get rid of Matherin, I would say it would have to be for like a Zubac type of player, in my opinion, where it's got to be someone that for sure is going to put you over the top and really make you like the team to beat out in the East and possibly win a title. So that's kind of my thinking with the Matherin front. But like, I think I saw too. I think I was listening on the Locked On Nets because I tried to get like some insight into like how those teams are thinking, and I think they were saying how they want to keep like financial flexibility going into the future. So maybe this helps them by offloading Claxton's contract and getting like some cheaper deals on hand. They could always flip Obi Toppin for maybe an expiring to another team, or maybe they get another pick out of him. And I can see where that makes sense if they don't want to like hang on to his contract and a contending team might want him. But they get two young guys. They get Jackson who could back up Sharp then. And then they get Jarris Walker, another young guy they can kind of take a swing on. Because I just don't know if Claxton fits their timeline. They're probably going to trade Porter Jr. So there's just a lot of factors, but like I was saying, I think they want to keep their books open, is what I was hearing from their source. So if that's the case, do they want to bring on a Matherin, even if they like him? Do they want to bring on Matherin and sign him to like a 25-year per year deal for like the next 4 to 5 years? I don't know if that's what they're trying to do. I'm not sure, guys. I think they want to keep that flexibility because they still believe like, oh, we're New York, we're a big market, we can bring in free agents after like some point here. And they're going to try to win at some point, guys. So maybe they want to keep that open to try to lure some big free agents. So I don't know. That's why I didn't include Matherin, but that's why I'm saying this is kind of like what it would take. So you got to see if like is it worth giving up Obi, who is a crucial part of the bench. And me personally, I'm fine with getting rid of Jackson and Walker, even though Walker's been playing a lot better lately. I'm fine with trading Walker. I don't think it's like for a guy that can be your starting center and possibly make you a championship caliber team. I think you do that for a guy like Walker. So I'm not sweating that, but it's the Obi Toppin piece. But then if you think about it, it's like, well, if we get a top 4 pick, let's say, 2 of those guys in the top 4 are power forwards. That's Caleb Wilson and Cameron Boozer. So let's say if we somehow end up with one of those guys, that's somebody that slots into the Obi Toppin role right away. That obviously you're going to play. It's a top 4 pick, and you want to develop. So to me, like that doesn't hurt as much then. So obviously we want like DeBonsa or Peterson probably like over those guys, even though I think any of those guys would be like a home run hit, and I wouldn't be upset with any of them. But I think like if there was a scenario where we get the 3rd or 4th pick, let's say, we end up with a power forward, I think Obi is a little more expendable in that regard. And I do appreciate Obi, and I think he provides a lot to our team. But when you're bringing in a top talent, you got to find room for him to play. I mean, I know Rick isn't going to just hand minutes because he doesn't do that for young guys, really. But I mean, he's going to get opportunities off the bench regardless. Almost like Dylan Harper-esque type of role for the Spurs. So that's kind of my thinking on it, guys. But just to kind of give you like a picture that, yes, honestly, like Obi Toppin would almost have to be included. And whether we send out a first and like Jarris and Jackson, and it wouldn't even have to be like Jarris per se. Maybe it's like Ben Shepherd in the deal. I don't know how they view Claxton. I don't know like what it would take to get him. Obviously, they're not going to just give him away, but if they get a first out of it and think, oh, we could flip Obi for another like late first, possibly 2 seconds. I think he's worth more than 2 seconds now. I don't know. But I can see where that maybe makes sense for them, and it kind of clears their books a little bit and gets off some like bigger deals where they have smaller contracts coming in, younger guys they could try to develop still. So I don't know. But I kind of found myself to be more intrigued by Nic Claxton as I started like thinking through it, watching the film on him a little bit, seeing what he's good at, seeing obviously that he's got his faults too. So I do think he could fit with the team, but let me know what you think, Pacer Nation. If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment. How do you guys feel about Nic Claxton? Would you be thrilled about it? Would you be like, meh, so-so? Or is it like a wait-and-see thing? I'm neutral on it. I mean, it just depends on what we would have to give up. So that's kind of like my main thing on how I feel about a trade for Claxton, because it is a bigger salary compared to the other guys we've been looking at. So it would take more. So that's really the only bad thing that I think would be something that holds me back from like us doing it as a franchise. But if we think we're that close to winning, you kind of have to do it, I think. But I don't know. Just let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions on Nicholas Claxton. If you would like his fit with our team, and always please leave a like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. It means a lot to me. Helps the channel grow. And then if you could listen on the Apple Podcast Network too. I'm on Apple Podcasts. I'm on Spotify. And if you could please give me a 5-star rating on those platforms, I would appreciate it a lot. Just really helps me be able to try to grow this podcast and do more because I am a fan podcast, guys. I'm a diehard fan. And what's funny is I even got my wife to be a diehard fan, but it's just she came at like the perfect timing. Was last year was her first year being a fan, and we make the NBA Finals. So seeing it this year and seeing the drastic difference, she's almost like, "Hey, well, like what's going on with this team?" Obviously, we know with Haliburton being hurt and all that, we didn't expect a lot, but it's just kind of been a funny introduction to her as like being a Pacer fan. But we watch every game and we just enjoy it. I love to talk with you guys about it and just create that community within this podcast and really like help it grow and become more and just become like the number one fan podcast. I would love that, guys. So, like I said, I really appreciate you guys listening as always, Pacer Nation, and I will talk to you soon.